The news came out yesterday from Clarence Hill of alldallas.com that the Cowboys are closing in on hiring their new head coach. And he is offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer. It hasn't happened yet. And maybe it was just a trial balloon. And if it was, that balloon was made of concrete. Cowboys fans see this as something other than an effort to try to get back to a Super Bowl and win it. Now, it's an effort continuity because Dak Prescott wants the same offense. So you got the same offense. You're making the coordinator the head coach. But, you know, Rodney, and this is not intended to be an insult at Brian Schottenheimer. He's 51 years old. He's a career coordinator and assistant coach. He's never been a serious candidate to be a head coach anywhere. Now, all of a sudden, he's the guy with all the options they have. He's the guy who emerges without much of a search even as the favorite to take the job. Cowboys fans are starting to figure out that the Cowboys are all about making money. They're not necessarily about chasing championships.
Well, it's been like that for a long time, Mike. And Brian Schottenheimer, for a guy that you leave, you know, Mike McCarthy, and you go to Brian Schottenheimer, a guy that hasn't been a head coach, is a little surprising to me. Why not just keep him in the same role and maybe hire another head coach? I mean, this is Jerry Jones. I mean, he didn't want a strong personality come in. He didn't want to have to bump heads. He didn't want anyone to have to challenge him. So, of course, he gets a guy. Brian's a good guy. You know what I'm saying? He knows the players. The players respect him. And he's not going to rattle the cage, anything like that. So he got the guy that he wanted, Jerry did.
You need a guy that's going to be content with Jerry Jones doing 2 radio spots every week and saying God knows what, doing a post-game media scrum and saying God knows what, being fully in charge of the personnel, and having this weird thing they do where they charge fans to go into the facility and gawk at the players while they're trying to work. You got to be fine with all of that. If you're fine with all that, you're a candidate to coach the Cowboys. And at the end of the day, look, they wanted to keep Mike McCarthy, I firmly believe, on a short-term contract. He wanted something longer. It all fell apart, and off they went. He's talked to Leslie Frazier, Robert Saleh, Brian Schottenheimer in person. That's it. Kellen Moore had a virtual interview. That's it. And Schottenheimer's a guy. I mean, come on, talk to more people. If nothing else, this is your opportunity to do what Al Davis used to do. Bring people in and pick their brains. Find out what other teams are doing. Get some secrets along the way. Help your team strategically. He doesn't have time for that. And he did talk, reportedly, to Pete Carroll informally about the head coaching job, but somebody pointed out, and this is probably accurate, he's talking to Pete Carroll about Schottenheimer. Because Schottenheimer was Carroll's offensive coordinator at one point in Seattle. So you put it out there that you talked informally to Pete Carroll. It helps Pete Carroll. It helps the Cowboys. And we move on with what is reportedly an inevitable hiring of Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, Jerry basically wanted someone that wouldn't rattle, like I said, rattle the cage, anything like that. A guy that, you know, he can pretty much do what he wanted to do. And Brian just going to coach. He's going to, you know, help Dak, and he wants to coach. He wants that position. And obviously you want the title of being the head coach. But this hire doesn't do anything for me. When they hired him, it's not like I'm saying they're closer to winning. They're closer to making the playoffs. They're closer to being right there with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. This move does really nothing to me, but I'm happy for Brian getting his opportunity.
Yeah, and it could be done as soon as today unless the Cowboys wake up and realize at some point you're going to push your fans so far that they're not going to open their wallets. They're going to close them. They're not going to open their eyes. They're going to turn off their TV. They're not going to care anymore. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's ambivalence.
We've been saying that,
Cowboys,
Mike. We've been saying that for the last decade. It seems
like it's getting closer
Mike.
and closer. It seems like it's getting closer and closer. It
It's
seems
not
like they're
gonna
figuring
happen.
it out.
It's not going to happen, Mike. We've been saying this for the last decade. They're not going to win. They're going to be inconsistent, and people are still going to jump on this team. They're still going to jump on the bandwagon. People want to be associated with the Dallas Cowboys, whether they're winning or losing. And to me, I like Brian Schottenheimer. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. But once you step in that role of head coach and you got all that pressure, you got all those other things that you're dealing with, travel, you're dealing with a bunch of administrative stuff. You're dealing with stuff like, wow, why can't I just coach football? That's what I came here to do. And now you got to deal with all the BS that comes along with Jerry and his interviews. And the tough part about it as a head coach, you're sitting there minding your own business. Jerry says something in a meeting. Now you have to respond to it, and you really don't know the full context of it. So it's things like that that irritate you, but it's all part of being a Dallas Cowboy. And you think about our guy, what's his name? Jason Garrett. I almost forgot his name. Our guy, Jason Garrett.
I won't tell him. Yes, I will.
Yeah, right. He's got a very similar personality like Brian Schottenheimer. Two guys that really, kind of just really laid back type guys. So we'll see if it works. I'm hoping the best for Brian.
Well, and I think what Jason Garrett learned, and he's explained this before, as a coach, you manage down and you manage up, where part of the job is to convince the people above you of the right thing to do and the right way to handle things, and it's part of the challenge. I don't know that anybody's capable of managing up with Jerry Jones, and I really do think fans are starting to see through this grift, and they're starting to get frustrated, and they're complaining. When they had training camp last year, there was hardly anyone there. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media, and it just may be people huffing and puffing, but usually you don't even see the huffing and puffing. Cousin of mine texted during the show, listening to the show, this fan is done with them, 4 exclamation points. So I think they're going to start encountering that, and they better do something to reverse it. And one thing they might do, and I have no idea whether this is going to happen, but people are watching the possibility of Rex Ryan going to Dallas as defensive coordinator, because as Rex tells it, they almost hired him last year, but they wouldn't pony up the money. Well, Schottenheimer worked for Rex in New York. Now Rex can work for Schottenheimer, but that's the kind of big personality that can come in and if you're going to have a circus, you got to have the sideshow. He can bring in the sideshow while Jerry's getting the people to come through the gates and go into the big top. Here's the clown that's going to make everybody laugh. And I say that somewhat facetiously, but somewhat seriously. You get Rex Ryan in there, maybe people will be interested. We're not interested in the coach. We're interested in the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's a big personality, but at the heart of it, Rex Ryan is a heck of a coach. And to get that opportunity, and that's a prestigious opportunity to be the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. A guy that I felt like they should have really considered was Al Harris. I thought Al Harris did a tremendous job with the secondary and the guys that he helped develop. And to go outside and hire a guy, other than Al Harris, I thought was a slap in the face. And if that would happen to me, I would want to go to a different organization. I think Al Harris should have an opportunity, although I'm a big believer in Rex Ryan and his aggressive mindset and his coaching. I mean, he's very honest. He's going to tell you exactly where you stand in terms of your play. And I think either one of those guys would be a great fit.
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly where you stand. You're out of time. Not that you're upset to be done with me. We're going to take a break. With you. Because it's only 1 hour a week. If it was 2, you'd feel differently. Or if it was more than one day a week, you'd feel differently. Yeah, I'm best in very small doses.
I just asked your wife.
All right. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.